She doesn't love you. She doesn't even know you. But if you play this right, she'll risk everything just to be near you. There will be arguments, tears, silent nights where she tells herself she should walk away. But no matter how much chaos it causes, she keeps returning, as if some invisible thread pulls her back to you. Why is this? It's because when a woman feels that rare, unexplainable pull toward a man, logic doesn't matter, rules don't matter, even her own well-being becomes secondary. We begin there with that pull, and what kind of man can create it? She says she wants a good man, but she reads about monsters. She says she wants peace, but she dreams of chaos with a jawline. She says she wants stability, but only after she's chased the storm. Why is this? Why would a woman walk away from the man who gives her everything for a man who gives her nothing but confusion, silence, or challenge? It's because attraction isn't born from logic, it's born from myth. Behind her curated Instagram feed, behind her feminist slogans, her self-love journey, lives a creature older than civilization. A woman with primal instincts shaped by 300,000 years of evolution. And that woman isn't looking for comfort. She's looking for transcendence. She doesn't want to manage a man. She wants to be claimed by one, not controlled, but consumed. And that's why the forbidden man haunts her imagination, because he awakens something ancient. In myth, he's the outlaw king, the brooding wolf who walks alone. He's Hades, the god of the underworld, who takes Persephone by the hand. She didn't marry him because he begged. She followed him because she saw a realm inside him that no soft boy could offer. And that's the part no one tells you. Sometimes a woman wants to fall. She wants to risk her name, her safety, her entire world to touch a man who doesn't need her to be complete. This man isn't toxic. He's untouchable. He doesn't pursue her. He walks through life with a purpose deeper than desire, and that's what makes him magnetic. Because the forbidden man doesn't orbit her. She orbits him. She makes excuses. She sends signals. She lies to herself. But the truth is, she's drawn to the edge he lives on, and that edge is where her illusions die. Women aren't bored by men who are too nice. They're bored by men who are too predictable. Safety without mystery is sterile. Love without power is flat. Attention without distance is dull. So she craves what she can't control, what she can't define, what feels like danger, but tastes like meaning. And the forbidden man offers exactly that. But not on purpose. It's who he is. A man who doesn't bend just because she's beautiful. A man who sees through her tricks. A man who looks at her with the eyes of someone who's already met his own shadow. She senses it, and she wants it. Not because he's better than other men, but because he carries something sacred, a kind of spiritual independence that makes her question everything, her values, even herself. This is the beginning of obsession. Because once a woman senses that kind of man exists, her old life starts to feel too small. Even if she stays with her boyfriend, even if she posts cute couple selfies, even if she pretends she's fulfilled, the memory of him will live in her spine like a ghost. Because when a woman meets a man who walks like fire in a world of plastic, she realizes how bored she's been pretending she's not. At first, it's thrilling for her to feel in charge. She thinks she has you figured out. You're responsive, open, maybe even vulnerable, and that makes her feel powerful. In her mind, she's playing chess while you're still arranging your pawns. She studies your words, your reactions, your eagerness to please, and for a time, she believes she's ahead. But then, something changes. You stop reacting the way you used to. You don't give her the same emotional rush she expected. You're not hurt when she withdraws. You don't panic when she tests you. You're calm, maybe even colder, and it begins to destabilize her. The moment she realizes you are not emotionally dependent on her, it's the beginning of her confusion. She thought you needed her attention to feel worthy. She assumed your desire for her gave her leverage. But now, your silence doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like strength. And that terrifies her. Most women are not prepared for a man who doesn't need them to feel whole. When you don't orbit around her approval, it feels like a threat to her sense of control. She will try harder. At first, she might provoke you, disappear for a few hours, flirt with others, or test you with coldness. But when those strategies don't work, a deep frustration begins to build. Understand this. Her power over men has always come from the way they emotionally collapse under pressure. When she pulls away, they chase. When she shows sadness, they rush to fix it. When she's unpredictable, they get anxious and try harder. But you? You're doing none of that. You're not trying to fix her moods. You're not taking the bait, and she doesn't know how to handle that. Eventually, she begins to spiral. At first, she thought you were soft-hearted, easily seduced by kindness and charm. But now, you're acting like someone who's tasted her beauty and still remained grounded. That shakes her self-image. It makes her wonder, why isn't he trying to win me over anymore? She might accuse you of being distant, cold, even emotionally unavailable, but it's not because you've changed. It's because you're no longer feeding her sense of control. This is where her emotional grip begins to fall apart. She may double down, become more affectionate, even overly sweet, not out of love, but out of a need to restore the balance of power. If that doesn't work, she may go the other direction, become cold, dismissive, even cruel. It's her way of trying to reassert control through chaos. She wants to stir your emotions back into play. But if you remain unmoved, she begins to doubt herself. And here's what most men never understand. This is not the moment to comfort her. If you try to reassure her too quickly, she'll feel like she's won again. She'll know she can still emotionally move you, and the spell is broken. But if you stay grounded, if you hold your frame while remaining calm and respectful, she won't know what to do next. She will feel something rare, respect mixed with fear. And this fear is not about physical harm, it's psychological. It's the fear of being emotionally disarmed. She no longer knows how to navigate a man she cannot predict or manipulate. It forces her to question everything she thought she understood about male behavior. And this is where the emotional tables begin to turn. A man who stays composed while she unravels is the one she can't forget. Not because he ignored her, but because he remained rooted in something deeper than her approval. That's the kind of man her instincts are drawn to, even if her ego resists him. And the more her tactics fail to work, the more obsessed she becomes with understanding him. This obsession isn't always romantic. It can be competitive, emotional, even self-destructive. She may try to win you back just to prove she still has influence. But the truth is, her behavior starts to revolve around you more than she ever expected. Her attempts to punish you turn into quiet admissions of weakness. Her silence becomes a signal. Her arrogance softens. But don't get confused here. This isn't love, it's tension. It's the emotional disorientation that comes when a woman realizes her usual methods no longer work on a man who sees through them. She's not falling in love with you. She's falling out of control. And that is the beginning of something far more dangerous for her. Because when a woman starts losing control over her emotions, she often doesn't recognize the internal collapse that's coming. The more she tries to regain that control through old strategies, the faster she breaks down. And you, if you're not careful, you might be tempted to help her. You'll think being gentle or giving her another chance will restore peace. But you have to understand this moment isn't about saving her. It's about staying true to your own center. Your strength isn't in fixing her. It's in not being broken by her. If you hold that frame, if you stay composed in the storm, if you remain honest but immovable, you'll see something rare. You'll see her either grow up or disappear. Both are wins. But only one leads to anything real. It's easy to assume that when a woman destroys her relationship, her reputation, or her emotional stability for a man, it must be because he manipulated her, because he used charm or lies to win her over. But the truth is often more complex and far more uncomfortable. Many women don't destroy themselves because a man deceived them. They destroy themselves because for the first time in their life, they felt something real, something they couldn't explain or control. You have to understand, most women aren't living in a state of emotional starvation. They're surrounded by men who give them attention, validation, love, and consistency. They're told they're beautiful, special, and deserving of the best. And yet, something still feels off. Something is missing. They're not consciously aware of it. They might even deny it if you ask them. But deep down, many women are starving for depth, not comfort, not gifts, not sweet messages. Depth. And when they meet a man who carries that depth, who doesn't perform for their approval, who lives with a clear sense of inner direction, they feel something ancient begin to stir. It's not about what he says. It's about what he doesn't say. It's about how he makes decisions without consulting the emotional weather. It's about how he holds his gaze without trying to impress anyone. It's about how he seems to have already faced the parts of himself that others are still running from. That kind of man doesn't just attract her attention. He confronts her reality. He challenges the roles she's used to playing, the tricks she's used to using, the emotional games she's used to winning. And in doing so, he awakens something inside her that feels both terrifying and magnetic. The desire to surrender to something greater than herself. This is what most people misunderstand about female desire. It's not simply about pleasure or validation. It's about losing control in a way that feels meaningful. For a woman who spent her whole life controlling situations, controlling men, controlling her image, the idea of surrendering to a man who doesn't ask for anything is both terrifying and irresistible. She doesn't want to lose herself, but she wants to stop pretending for just one moment. She wants to be with a man who sees past her charm, who doesn't melt under her beauty, who isn't trying to get something from her. A man who forces her to ask, "Who am I really when I'm not in control?" And that kind of man, the one who holds steady while the world bends, makes her feel like she's finally found something worth falling into. That's why women risk it all. Not because they're weak or impulsive, but because for the first time, they've met a man who didn't flinch. And when he doesn't flinch, they realize how many masks they've been wearing. Now the pain begins because she's in a relationship with someone who gives her everything she thought she wanted. But it suddenly feels dull, incomplete, too safe. And she can't stop thinking about the one man who gave her nothing, but somehow made her feel everything. She doesn't want to admit that, so she represses it. She tells herself it was just chemistry, just confusion, just a mistake, but it lingers. The memory of how calm he was, how little he reacted, how unmoved he seemed, yet how deeply she felt when he looked at her. He didn't say she was beautiful. He didn't text her late at night. He didn't need her to like him. And that's why she still thinks about him. Because in a world full of men who are desperate to be chosen, he was the first one who made her realize she was the one seeking validation that flips her internal compass upside down. She's not used to that dynamic, and it forces her to confront a painful realization. Maybe she doesn't want to be in control. Maybe she's exhausted from always playing the powerful one. Maybe she wants someone who doesn't just match her intensity, but transcends it. That's when women start acting in ways that don't make sense. They'll walk away from a stable relationship. They'll lie to their friends. They'll betray their image of themselves because somewhere inside, they felt something real, and they're willing to break everything that isn't real to touch it again. This is why women choose destruction, not because they're self-sabotaging, but because part of them believes that the man they lost was the truth, even if it was brief. Even if nothing happened, even if he never touched her, the experience of meeting him, of standing in the presence of a man she couldn't predict, couldn't manipulate, couldn't label, created a split inside her. And no matter how hard she tries, she can't go back to sleep. You wanted to be desired. Now you are. But understand this. The man she'd die to sleep with is also the man who can destroy her. When you awaken that part of a woman, the part that defies reason, betrays her morals, and burns her old life down just to taste you, you are no longer just a man. You become a symbol, a drug, a flame she can't touch without being consumed. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll break her, you'll lose yourself, and the fire will take you both. So be careful. This power isn't free. And once it's in your hands, you'll never be able to go back to being harmless again. The journey you embark on when you awaken that primal part of a woman is not one to be taken lightly. This isn't about a fleeting attraction or momentary pleasure. This is something deeper, something much more significant. Once you tap into this, once you have triggered the parts of her that society has long repressed, there's no turning back. What begins as an uncontrollable force, a magnetic pull, becomes a catalyst for something much larger than either of you anticipated. You see, women aren't accustomed to being around men who have this depth. Most men, whether they mean well or not, are often eager to please, to reassure, to fulfill a woman's every emotional whim, and in doing so, they feed into the endless cycle of validation and reassurance. That's not what makes a woman feel seen or challenged in the way that truly matters. It's not the compliments, the constant flattery, or the endless text messages. What catches her attention is a man who lives for something bigger than her approval, someone who commands the space without needing to make noise. At first, she will try everything to pull you in, to test you, to see if you are like the rest. She may play the game of withdrawal, withholding affection, or becoming distant to see if it stirs any emotion in you. When she sees that you don't bend, that you don't react like the others, that's when the real struggle begins. She'll feel a quiet storm of frustration building, the old tricks no longer working on you. There's an urgency in this reaction, as if she's finally encountering something she can't manipulate, something that isn't immediately gratifying or predictable. And that, in itself, is the start of a transformation. She begins questioning the roles she's always played, the emotional games that have worked so well in the past. And it's all because of you, the one who refuses to be controlled by her. Now, you have a choice. You can either engage in her emotional games, become part of the chaotic cycle of validation and manipulation, or you can hold steady in your frame. The power lies in your ability to stay grounded, unmoved by her fluctuations. If you maintain your sense of self, if you do not give in to the emotional highs and lows that she presents, you become the one who is in control, without even trying. She may push you further, she may test your limits in ways you never thought possible, but your refusal to react, to bend to her will, becomes the very thing that holds her spellbound. As she watches you, her sense of control begins to fracture. She begins to see herself differently. All her previous tactics start to fail, and that leaves her with only one thing to do: face herself. And that's the most terrifying thing a woman can experience. She may have spent years crafting her identity, using her beauty, charm, or emotional strategies to get what she wanted, but now, in front of a man who doesn't play by her rules, she's left to reckon with the truth of who she really is. This is where things take a darker turn. The obsession begins to grow not because of love, but because of a deep, undeniable need to reclaim control over something that slipped away. She'll find herself thinking about you in a way that doesn't align with anything she's ever known. The boundaries she once set up to protect herself, to keep her emotions in check, begin to break down. She finds herself trying to figure you out, but the more she does, the further away you seem to be. It becomes an obsession, not because she desires you in the conventional sense, but because you are the one thing that disrupts the balance she's worked so hard to maintain. What happens next is critical for both of you. As she spirals, as her attempts to regain control grow more frantic, you must resist the urge to comfort her. This is the mistake that many men make. They see her distress and want to reassure her, to help her find peace. But doing so would only reinforce her belief that she still holds the power. If you indulge her, if you rush to fix the situation, you become just another man who has given her back the very thing she sought to take away: control. Instead, you must remain calm, composed, and steady. When she looks at you and sees no reaction, no weakness, no emotional collapse in the face of her tactics, it triggers something within her that she doesn't fully understand. What she's feeling is not just confusion, it's fear. But not the kind of fear that comes from physical harm or aggression. It's the kind of fear that makes her feel emotionally unhinged, exposed, and vulnerable. The more you hold your frame, the more she'll be forced to reckon with the part of herself she's avoided for so long. The parts of her that require surrender, that require letting go of control. And this is the most dangerous moment of all. As you stand your ground, she will begin to question everything. The roles she's played, the games she's mastered, and the narratives she's spun to keep herself in control. Everything will come undone. She'll realize that, for the first time, she's facing a man who doesn't need her validation, who doesn't chase her approval, and that forces her to confront something she's been avoiding all along: her own sense of vulnerability. When this happens, you won't need to do anything at all. The shift will be palpable. She may become desperate to win you over, to regain control, or she may push you away completely in an attempt to preserve the illusion that she's in charge. But no matter how she reacts, the change has already taken place. The man who remains unmoved in the face of her emotional chaos has won something far more valuable than mere affection. He has gained her respect. And with that respect comes a powerful realization. She will either rise to meet you, transcending her need for control and accepting the challenge you represent, or she will walk away, consumed by the fact that she couldn't bend you to her will. Both outcomes, in their own way, are victories for you. The woman who stays and grows will do so because she has encountered something real, something she can't explain, and in the process, she will either transform or disappear. Either way, you've become the catalyst for her evolution, a force she cannot deny. As the woman in your life grapples with her emotional disorientation, you must remain steadfast. The power in this situation isn't in what you do to her, it's in how you respond to her. By remaining true to your own values, unshaken by her emotional games, you create a space in which she has to either rise to meet you or leave behind the illusions that have governed her life. In the end, this is not about conquering her or winning in the traditional sense. It's about understanding that you, as a man who is emotionally independent and grounded, offer something far more valuable than temporary affection or attention. You offer depth, mystery, and a challenge that few men can provide. And in a world full of men who give in to the demands of women, it's this rare quality that will make you unforgettable to her. But with this power comes responsibility. The power to awaken something inside a woman, to shift her entire emotional landscape, is not something to be taken lightly. The deeper you allow her to fall, the more she'll risk. And the more she risks, the more she will come to depend on you, whether she realizes it or not. This is a double-edged sword. Use it wisely. You have to be careful. Because once a woman is captivated by this kind of man, the one who stands steady in the storm, who does not bend, who doesn't need her to complete him, you become something far greater than just a man. You become a symbol, and with that symbol comes power, the power to destroy or to transcend. Use it wisely. Because once it's in your hands, there is no going back. You will never be the same, and neither will she.